All right. So, let's just take a moment and just sink back into the room. With your breath, just pull your awareness back into this moment. Pull your awareness into the actual space that you're in. Close your eyes and ask yourself, where am I? What moment am I in? If you find yourself in some aspect of your past or your future, just call that part of yourself back. Call it home. Time for all the little kids to come home. Back to this moment. And open your eyes and just begin to breathe. Attention high in the body at the forehead and crown. Let your eyes fall to a spot in front of you or on the floor just to get them out of the way. And from there, you're just going to tend to the breath. As you breathe in, you are 100% present with that breath. As you breathe out, you are riding that breath all the way down. And you're watching so closely that you're even aware of a gap of nothing space in between the breaths, at the top of the inhale right before the exhale, at the bottom of the exhale right before the inhale. A little opening into nothingness. Give yourself to the breath for a while, and then we'll talk. So there's a fair amount of busyness. Give yourself a chance to slow way down. Slow way down to the speed of this moment. So slow that you don't miss anything. All your awareness present for this ever-ticking moment. And just let go of the rest. The rest isn't real. It's either in the past or it's in the future, but it's not here right now. So let it go. Now from this slowed down space, can you just open up within it? Let your heart relax. Let your gut relax. Let the mind be like an open gate. Just given and available to this eternal moment. Can you slow yourself down so much that you find the stopping point of time? That point is a doorway into eternity, a doorway into your true self. Can you let go that much? All of your obligations, all of your struggles are stuck in the past. Your fears are all stuck in the future. Everything that makes your life feel burdened is in the past and in the future. If you can slow yourself way down and catch this moment with your full awareness, you can step outside of your entire life. The chains of your entire personality can fall off of you for a time, and you can experience freedom and health. How much can you let go? Let's talk a little bit. First, I want to know if you were able to experience the stillness. You can type in the chat or unmute yourself and answer. I'd like to know what sort of challenges you faced, if any. An upsetting idea? Okay. Hey, Caden. Nice to meet you. You bet. How did that go for you? Good. Good. So, there are these doorways into reality. Reality being that part of life that doesn't need to be held up by a story in our head, right? Something that we don't have to constantly be affirming and reaffirming with an internal dialogue. And it's those in between spaces. It's sort of like, when a pendulum is swinging, this point right here, for just a blip of time, there is balance between the force coming this way and the force going up, and the force coming this way and the force going up. The same thing happens with our breath. At the top of every breath, right before we switch over to the exhale, there is this moment, this palpable moment that is a doorway into what at first looks like nothing. But if you pay attention to it, you can actually slip through that doorway so that even when the pendulum continues to swing, there's a part of you that's on the other side. Even as you're exhaling, there's a part of you that is aware of the other side, and it strengthens again at the bottom of the breath. But similarly, this perception of time that we have, which, the entire story happens in the past and future. None of it's happening now. Absolutely none of it. And so there's this constant flipping from the stuff that's pissing us off about our day or the stuff that we're worried about for the future. And like a pendulum, we're swinging back and forth. Fear of the future, pain of the past, wants of the future, anger of the past. But there is this moment that exists at the center of it. And it's the only part of life that is actually real. It's the only place where you have any real power. In the past and the future, life is running you. You come in with a bunch of inclinations. You don't, we pretend that we have free will, but you don't have that much control over what you want. So I don't know how we can even call that free will. Most people just come in with these tendencies and they play it out swinging on that pendulum. But when you can slow yourself way, way down, it's not really that the pendulum stops. You can feel it still going. There's always this slow undulation of life, but you become so aware of that entry space of the silence that it doesn't matter that there's movement. It doesn't matter that there are noises in the room, or that somebody's dog barks, or that there's construction outside. It doesn't matter that maybe there's an image of something that comes up from earlier in your day because You have gotten control over where your attention is, and you've slowed yourself down enough to have some choices. When you can slip through that door, at first it looks like nothing at all. It just looks like peace. It looks like kind of a completion. You feel kind of done in a very comfortable way, which really that's what you're reaching for all the time in everything you do. You want to just finally feel finished with whatever this endless task is. But if you can stay there, and staying there is not about willpower, it's about making it your home. It's about abiding there comfortably. You can start to open up comfortably within that space. And when that happens, it's almost like you've been plugged into a power source and you start to charge like a battery really slowly. It's not one of those things that's going to just change everything overnight. But that slow increase in charge actually changes the perceptive machinery in you. And it actually changes what you can see and how you understand that new nothing space. And you come to see that it's actually a vast ocean of exploration. I taught this class for decades at this public library, and I always called it like an entrance into the vast ocean of the silence. And it's because it is this vast realm of wordless, imageless exploration that can't even be talked about. But if you can just trust enough to abide there, you can begin to become the type of being that can see into that space and actually find your truest identity within that space. At some point, you go so far that everything flips, and suddenly that becomes the foreground for you. And all the stories, they stick around, but they become background. They become just like a dream that you're picking up threads here and there and doing things with. And mostly you don't regress too much. You just kind of keep moving forward and building. But it's this in-between spaces. Right after an orchestra stops playing, but before the before the audience starts clapping. That just gap of nothing. That soundless sound that happens whenever someone has been speaking and then all of a sudden they stop. And you just fall off a cliff. There is a vast and ancient secret there that almost everybody in the world will spend their entire life missing. They'll only go there when they're asleep. They'll get to a certain place where everything shuts off. And if they didn't, they would have very little energy because it's a power source. So life knocks you out and forces you to recharge a little bit every single night. But if you can master this, and mastering it is more about being mastered by it, giving yourself up to it, you can find vast realms of exploration. And it actually improves health and opens up possibilities even within the story of life. Because as you come back to it, all of these things that you believed in so much, all of these characteristics that you thought were so real about your life, suddenly just look like what they are, which is stories that you're holding in place. Because you just spent a period of time where all it took to get rid of them was to stop looking at them. All it took to be free of them, to have those chains lifted off of you, was to find that space in between and just abide there comfortably. It makes it so that even when you go back into life and into the movement, even into your own story, that freedom is still somehow there. The metaphor that people usually use for that is, like if you never saw the sky behind the clouds and you didn't even know what was up there, the clouds would only have to part once for you to know what was on the other side of those clouds. Even if the clouds came back over, you would still know sky. It's the same thing. Only in this case, what's on the other side of those clouds of your personal stories is actually the real you, the part of you that is completely free. So that's what all of this is about. Everything I've taught for 20 years has been various ways of saying the same thing. It always sounds different because people need to hear different things at different times, but the message is always the same. And the message comes from that place. And the message is you are free. You are absolutely free. And it is a simple shift in the attention that allows you to express that freedom. Does anyone else have anything to add or any questions? Anything at all? One person says you had me at endless task. I mean, it's a lot, isn't it? This life that we've gotten ourselves into, these stories that we carry, and we just let them accumulate. We just let them build and build and build. But it's not hanging on to us. We're hanging on to it. And why? Because we don't know what we are. We think we are those stories, even though the story is completely different than it was 30 years ago. It's like if something can change that fundamentally, then it's probably not an inherent truth. You are something else. And meditation is an opportunity for you to see that. And then it's the beginning of an exploration that you just follow it according to your curiosity. I tell people to start 5 minutes a day. And then when you start to become curious, extend that time. Because it needs to be something you'll actually do. Because in the beginning, you're using a story to make yourself do it. Right? And that's a vulnerable situation. But the more that you cross over into that line, on the other side of that pendulum swing, and it's a simple shift in the attention, the more meditation stops being a chore. And the more you can then come back to the story and make some conscious choices for, what you want to continue building, what you want to continue giving your energy to, and maybe what sort of things you want to compost and turn into something better. The truth is, you can break the whole thing down and start over if you want. It's just a story. I've done it many times. There are things in my life where people thought I'd be there forever. They were shocked when on a moment when I knew it was time, I collapsed the whole life and built something new. Because there's no reward. Like there's no reward coming for hanging on to a bunch of stuff that's making you miserable. There's no person who at the end of all of this is going to applaud you for it. If you choose to take on a misery for a good reason, to help somebody or to carry some load for somebody, fine. But most people's misery is because they think they're stuck. And it's because they're misidentified with a system of stories. And they haven't seen who they are in those moments that happen all day long, where there's a doorway out of it. It's funny, these classes, I was certain we were going to talk about something completely different tonight. I'd had it on my mind all day long, but I've come to learn I have no say in this. We speak to what's in front of us. But this is something I want you guys to really grasp. I want you guys to really start looking for it because it's all over your world. It's not something I bring to you. This is a huge part of every minute of your life. And you need to be cognizant of it so that you don't spend your life thinking the world is just clouds. Anything else before we go back into meditation? All right. Let's go back in. You're going to slow yourself way down. And you're going to find that stopping point of the pendulum, that balance point. And that's where you're going to give your attention. And you're going to see it accentuated at the top and the bottom of every breath. Nothing to achieve. Nothing to understand. Just give yourself to the moments that appear right in front of you with every breath. Very good. It's much deeper now. And when you're there, just let it show you what it is. Don't try and describe it. Just sense it. Just be with it. Ask nothing of it. And see if you can just abide there. Slow down. Let go of time. Let go of the need to be entertained. Let go of all demands. Just be with what's left. Let it be exactly what it is. Now, from this space, lift your eyes up and take in the room, but set the room free. No stories. Just be in this still space without having to hide your attention from the room. Let it be exactly what it is. Nothing to identify, nothing to define. Maintain your awareness of the gaps, the doorways, in between. This practice is the bridge for bringing the freedom of your true self into your actual life. Set it all free. Every characteristic you think you know about it, let it go. It's free to change color if it wants. Nothing to hold in place. Just consciousness and freedom. This is the truth, and everything else is just a story. Now, from deep within you, invite the highest parts of yourself to communicate with you through feeling. That light at the top of your head, give it permission to guide you. And then just open yourself to its feeling. All right, guys, good job. That was an hour well spent. Are there any questions or comments or anything that you want to talk about tonight before we close up? Thank you. I'm glad you're making it. This is a man who jumped off a broken train. He was in a train accident and literally was so intent on getting to our very first class that he got off of a broken train and found his way to class on time. That was years and years and years ago. You know, I mean, that's the beauty of having people that are ready to grow as you guys bring forward amazing, amazing teachings and energy. It really has very little to do with me. All right. So this week, I mean, just ask yourself if you know how to get there now, why not see if you can get there on your own this week as often as possible? What would happen if in the middle of your workday you took a few minutes in a bathroom stall, like Superman, and just got yourself there and then looked up, bridged that into your day, and walked back into the workspace, setting all of that free? And then just noticing what that does to your day. How long can you abide there? How long can you sustain it? Don't go in a trance, right? Don't, be aware of what your face looks like. But why wouldn't you practice this, right? For some reason, it's always a hard sell. You always kind of need someone to remind you over and over again, and I get that. But still, give it a try. Um, and feel free to email me. Feel free to email me with questions and stuff if you want. And if nothing else, I'll be here again next Thursday. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Nice hanging with you.